Hello, and welcome back to Cinema Screen. Today we're exploring a spine-chilling 2010 horror thriller, Mirrors 2. This movie will keep you on the edge of your seat, so get ready for some hair-raising moments. Fair warning, there are spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution and enjoy the thrill. You can watch the recap of the first movie in this series, Mirrors, which was released in 2008, either through the card displayed at the top or via the link provided in the description of this video. The story begins with Max Matheson meeting Dr. Beaumont some days after an accident involving Max and his girlfriend. During their conversation, Max describes seeing unusual things and seeks Beaumont's advice. Later, Henry Shaw, the night watchman at the recently renovated Mayflower building, notices a large mirror while patrolling inside. When he opens it, his reflection in the mirror begins to change, terrifying him. Henry accidentally drops his flashlight, shattering it on the floor. To his horror, the reflection in the mirror picks up the broken shards and slashes itself. At that moment, Henry's real face begins to bleed severely, and he screams in pain. The following morning, Max is awakened by a phone call from his father, Jack Matheson. Jack, who is in charge of the Mayflower, informs Max that the night watchman at the building has gone insane and mutilated his own face. Jack explains that they need to hire a new night watchman. Understanding the urgency and wanting to help his father, Max volunteers for the job. Later that day, Max heads to the Mayflower to meet Jack. On his way, he notices Elizabeth Raines putting up posters seeking information about her missing sister, Eleanor Raines. When Max arrives at the Mayflower, Jack shows him the newly renovated building and introduces him to Keller Landreau, the manager, Jenna McCarty, and Ryan Parker, who handles operations control. After the introductions, Max goes to the break room inside the Mayflower. While standing in front of a mirror, he suddenly sees the apparition of Eleanor, who had been missing for 2 months. Startled and frightened, Max quickly leaves the room. The next morning, Max meets Dr. Beaumont again to share what he experienced the previous night. Beaumont dismisses his concerns, suggesting that the visions were merely a result of mental stress. That night, Max returns to work at the Mayflower and begins inspecting various areas of the building. While in the CCTV control room, he watches the surveillance footage. Suddenly, Keller enters the room unexpectedly, startling Max. After a brief conversation, Max leaves the room. Meanwhile, Jenna finishes her bath and moves in front of the bathroom mirror. She notices her reflection in the mirror behaving strangely, terrifying her. In her panic, she slips and falls, causing a shard of broken glass to pierce her neck, leading to her tragic death. At the same time, Max, who is standing near another mirror in the Mayflower, witnesses Jenna's death through the reflection, horrifying him. The next morning, after finishing his shift, Max sets up an appointment to meet Dr. Beaumont. Meanwhile, 2 detectives arrive at the scene of Jenna's death to investigate the circumstances of her demise. Later, Max meets with Dr. Beaumont and explains the persistent visions he sees through the mirrors. Beaumont shares her insights about the various incidents involving mirrors, attempting to help Max understand what he is experiencing. Afterward, Max returns to the Mayflower and notices a handprint on the glass window of a room. Despite trying to wipe it away, the print remains. Curious, Max enters the room to investigate but finds no one inside. As he exits, he encounters Ryan, who informs Max about Jenna's death and explains how it happened. That night, while inspecting the Mayflower again, Max has a vision through one of the mirrors showing Ryan's imminent death. Alarmed, Max searches for Ryan's contact information in the files and calls his number to warn him. Unfortunately, Ryan doesn't answer. Determined to prevent the tragedy, Max heads to Ryan's location. Meanwhile, Ryan is preparing to eat dinner at his home. As he in front of a mirror, he notices that his reflection is absent, which terrifies him. When he examines the mirror, his reflection suddenly appears holding a knife. In a horrifying turn of events, the reflection begins cutting Ryan's body through the mirror, causing Ryan to die a gruesome death. A short while later, Max arrives near Ryan's apartment, only to learn that he has already died. Coincidentally, a Mayflower employee also arrives at the scene during this time, raising the suspicions of the 2 detectives present, who begin to suspect Max's involvement. Disturbed by the events, Max calls his father, Jack, and informs him of his decision to resign from his job. Jack agrees, and as he hangs up, Max sees a vision of Jack's death now. Distraught, Max rushes to his father's house to rescue him. As Max approaches Jack's house, Jack enters the kitchen, where his reflection in a nearby mirror begins acting violently, seemingly attempting to kill him. Before anything fatal occurs, Max arrives at the scene in time to save his father from harm. Jack, confused, asks Max, "Why are you here?" Max replies, explaining that he's had a change of heart and wants to work at the Mayflower. Later, Max returns to the Mayflower, where he encounters the two detectives. They question him about the murders. Max answers their questions and leaves. Determined to uncover the truth, Max goes back inside the Mayflower with a flashlight. Standing in front of a mirror, he asks, "Who are you? What do you want?" In response, the light from his flashlight reflects off the mirror, pointing towards a specific area in the Mayflower. Following the beam of light, Max investigates the indicated spot and discovers Eleanor Rain's Mayflower ID. The mirror then redirects the flashlight's beam towards an area outside the Mayflower. Max follows the light and finds one of Eleanor's missing person posters. Acting on this clue, Max calls the number on the poster to contact Elizabeth. The next morning, Max meets with Elizabeth and tells her about the strange events he has witnessed. Initially, Elizabeth dismisses him, believing he is making light of her sister's disappearance. However, after witnessing Max's conviction, she decides to listen to what he has to say. While Max and Elizabeth were talking, Max shares the story of the accident he experienced while traveling with his girlfriend and explains how it left him with the unsettling ability to see inexplicable, supernatural events. During their conversation, Max also asks Elizabeth various questions about Eleanor. That same day, after meeting Elizabeth, Max returns home and experiences a terrifying dream involving Eleanor, causing him to wake up abruptly. Determined to find answers, that night, Max heads to the Mayflower and calls Elizabeth to ask for the exact date of Eleanor's disappearance. Using this information, Max reviews the security camera recordings from that day, but discovers that the footage is missing. Frustrated, Max and Elizabeth decide to visit Henry, a Mayflower employee, to ask about the missing recordings and Eleanor's disappearance. Henry reveals that he had deleted the security footage from that day under Keller's orders, but claims to know nothing more about Eleanor's disappearance. After leaving Henry's house, Max and Elizabeth return to the Mayflower to investigate. While exploring the ground floor, they find a covered room. Max enters the room and begins searching, but Keller suddenly arrives and shoots at Max. Max narrowly escapes being hit and, in the process, stumbles upon Eleanor's deceased body. At that moment, Max experiences a vision of what happened to Eleanor. He sees a group of Mayflower employees hosting a party where Jenna and Ryan offer Eleanor a drink spiked with a drug. After becoming intoxicated, Keller decides to take Eleanor home. However, Eleanor realizes she left her house keys at the Mayflower and insists on going back. Once there, Keller attempts to rape her. Eleanor escapes and hides, but Keller ultimately finds and kills her. Her spirit then becomes trapped within a nearby mirror. The vision ends, and the scene shifts back to the present. Elizabeth attempts to escape Keller, who chases her through the building. Just as Keller catches up to Elizabeth and tries to kill her, Max arrives and intervenes. A violent fight ensues between Max and Keller. During their struggle, Max notices Eleanor's reflection in a mirror nearby. Using this to his advantage, Max pushes Keller in front of the mirror. At that moment, Eleanor's spirit emerges from the mirror, grabs Keller, and drags him into the mirror, killing him. On another day, Henry reveals everything he knows about Keller and Eleanor to the two detectives. After the detectives finish questioning him and leave the room, the observer mirror in that room begins to crack. As Henry approaches the mirror, the movie concludes by providing evidence that Eleanor's spirit still resides within the mirror. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more exciting movie recaps. See you in the next one.